Hello, everyone. I'm Christina, and we've gone live. Um, it's only been about 2 or 3 days, but in today's world, this is pretty much all you really need to have a lot of news, right? And we're going to start off with the current end times news first, and then we're going to have a look at the Battle of Armageddon at the end of our conversation, because I think that there's an interesting perspective that needs to be taken a look at a little bit harder than it usually is. Okay. Just kind of waiting for everybody to kind of come in, and want to encourage everyone to share these live streams if you feel like it's worthy. And don't forget to hit subscribe, all notifications, the usual, hit like, and don't forget to say hello. Okay. All right. We're going to start with the current end time news, which happens to be quite a lot. I mean, and this is just within the last week, really. And there's my notes. Okay. All right. I don't know if I want to call this an end time sign, but it was enough to just enrage me. And they're still discussing whether or not we get, how we get the stimulus check, and if we're going to get it, when we're going to get it, and all these details. And at the same time, it looked like, they needed money to get the government keep the government from shutting down. Well, after months of arguing and all this talk, you know who they paid? Themselves. Okay, now they might, I don't know if they have today, or, I mean, it's Sunday, right? But they still did that. It was like, wow, it's so easy for them to just go ahead and pay themselves rather than help out the American people. Okay, now, one thing that we can look at is that we are having signs in the heavens. Okay. And one that's really being looked at is the Christmas star that's really due tomorrow night. The 21st is what they keep saying. There's another comet that's passed through somewhere recently, and they saw that as a bad omen. Nevertheless, the Christmas star has been far from the only sign in the heavens that we've been seeing over the last 4 years. Really, it's just one really after the other, and so that's definitely a big one. And when you're seeing these signs unfolding in the heavens, these great conjunctions, these rare conjunctions and rare stars, and you combine it with the rare and extreme weather, then you know something is going on in the world. And it's really getting harder and harder for people to deny that we are in the last days. I think that there's a lot of worry that we're about to head into the tribulation, and people talk a lot about rapture, and I'm just going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about rapture. I do know about other things, though. And I'm seeing a lot of these things unfold as we go along. And let's take a look at another one. Okay. Talking about a heart failing them for fear, for seeing what's coming upon the earth. Okay. Now, this may not be a heart attack, but it sure is a suicide, because the German Prime Minister of Finance commits suicide after seeing what is to come from the fallout of this pandemic economically. Okay. And there's actually an article that came out. This was March 29th. Okay. So you fast forward to now, we've had a lot more suicides. So this was a sign right here. Okay. Then we're going to take a look at the things that have come upon the earth. Okay. And one particular area of interest that we're all looking at right now is the Mount St. Helens area, not just that volcano, but that entire volcanic mountainous area and the Cascadia Fault. And I mean, the worry there is enormous right now. I really hear so much, and I know that they're having the earthquakes, but the thing is that on USGS, they're not showing what other places are showing. Okay, so it said in the end, that we would have pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places, um, famine. Okay. I was talking about that. Okay. Hello, everybody. I want to say hi to Christy, Fiddlesticks, and the Watchman. I'm so glad to have you guys here. Stars brought me joy. I'm really glad because, we all do need some hope. And that is kind of what I want to be able to bring to some of you tonight is a little bit of hope. And there is hope to be had. The only place there is no hope, trust me, is hell. So there's always hope, okay? This isn't just a battle between men. This isn't just a battle going on. This is a spiritual battle. And so you've got to understand that the harder that the enemy is fighting, that means that God must be very, very close. Things must be very, very close, okay? And when God is here and he's got his hands on all the controls, then there is hope. And a lot of people tend to focus on the bad because that's very easy to do. It's very, very scary, right? So much so, though, that you do forget there is hope. We'll get to that soon. Let's go ahead and get through the bad news for a little while, Okay. Oh, yeah. We had the genocide of hundreds of thousands of chickens over illness concerns. Okay. So, once again, we're having the animal die-offs, whether it's intentional or some kind of natural die-off that's been happening. It's almost every day. It's not just a few here and a few there. It's a whole bunch, and it's happening all over the place. It's like, oh my God, we're going to have to get really creative at some point if this does not stop. And it's not really supposed to. These are the last days, but that's okay. That's okay for now. I think sometimes because we've been so spoiled before, we've been just so comfortable in a lot of ways, especially here in the United States, that we've been lulled asleep. I mean, we may be awake and we can see everything is happening, but we've become weak. Does that make sense? The thought of something too bad happening is just so far from our minds, I guess maybe not so much lately, huh? We're kind of seeing that, aren't we? Okay, I see we're starting to have some more people coming in. Okay. Okay, YouTube, this is what Watchman said. YouTube has made more moves to make it more difficult to know that you are blocked from channels and to share messages with links in live chat. I know I'm shadow banned. I've been shadow banned for a couple of years, ever since I mentioned the South Atlantic anomaly, And I have a warning on my page right now, too, from what Claire Edwards said. Live chat now features shadow banning, where it makes you think you are still posting messages, but you are not. As before, they would just disappear when blocked. I'm telling you, sometimes people type messages and they've just disappeared. Like they aren't even there. I've seen that. BooTube. Funny. It's always good to check and see if anybody notices you in the chat. Yeah, no kidding. Go back. Yeah. No kidding, right? So we have this bad news happening, and I'm almost done with it, I think. Ooh, okay. A little bit. We're most of the way through. Okay, and if you remember a few videos back, we were talking about how England, the UK, same thing. They wanted to say, okay, we'll give you 4 or 5 days during the 20th to the 25th to just have a day of reprieve, but you'll have to pay for every day with 5 days lockdown in January. But then it comes out in the news that the UK just backed out of that too. They just totally backed out of their Christmas promise. It was like, psych. Yeah. Okay, and this is while they were the first country, if I'm not mistaken, to report that the vaccine had come out in their country. This 90-year-old woman, she was in a wheelchair. Well, after seeing that nurse faint, I can see why they had that old lady in a wheelchair. because she looked fine. She looked very cheerful. If I can do it, you can. That's what she said. You know, so even though they've got these vaccines, and see, that just goes to tell you, when you go to read into it, we're reading articles like last time that say, oh, we don't even know if it'll prevent it. We don't know if it'll treat it. We don't know. We don't know anything as far as where, but what we are starting to find out is that there are adverse reactions, and off-grid desert form. Well, I guess his new channel is The News That Matters on YouTube. He's the one saying that he was reporting the CDC. The CDC is reporting 3,000. I think it just came out too, that are having these reactions, and coming from different channels and different sources. So far, I've been able to see that there is fainting, Bell's palsy, but I don't know if the company was trying to explain that away, but they're saying there are signs of Bell palsy when something happens to one side of your face. Of course, we've all heard about the allergic reactions, anaphylactic shock, the flushing in the face, which indicates swelling too throughout, difficulty breathing, tremors, headache, chills, and even death. Now, while they're trying to shove this unknown cocktail, for whatever reason they're trying to shove into us, they have finally come up with a group of people that they think should hold off on this vaccine for a little while. So I guess they can't get on trains, because they're pregnant women or planning to become pregnant, children, and those with allergies should avoid the shot for now. Remember that, for now. Who they are going for is our health co-worker, and I'd also heard they were going to try going for the inmates. So, I mean, talk about sitting ducks, Let's see what's going on. Hi, One Prophetic Touch Ministry. It's so good to see you. I'm glad you could make it. Hi, Trent. We still don't know if the vac is worse than COVID. We don't know. And somebody brought up a good point, which is right. There could be problems a couple of years down the road. You know what I'm saying? You don't know after just a day or a few weeks. You don't necessarily know what can happen to you. Think about lead-based paint back in the day. How many people, and all the number 2 lead pencils. I think they're finally starting to change those out. But a lot of times people don't know. They used to actually make medicine a century ago with cocaine in it, like cough syrups and stuff like that. Did y'all know that? So you don't always know later. It's always sold as though it's good. It's brand new. The technology we have right now, it's better than we've ever had. So this can be trusted. You can trust us. Go ahead and take that. And that's what happens. A lot of people get hurt that way. A lot of people. And we're going down for that. Is it worse than the COVID? I tell you what, I think letting our economy completely collapse on a worldwide scale is extremely irresponsible, wouldn't you say? Watchman says, now the new mystery out of the UK, the more aggressive transfer mutation, 70% more likely to get. See, yeah. Mutations. So here we go, talking about the mutations again. And we knew it would happen. Hold on, I need to get a drink of my tea. No, I don't have the COVID. I just cough sometimes. Yeah, the mutations, they're definitely trying to put fear out there with the like we didn't know that was coming, and like we didn't know you couldn't really keep up. Hey, AA Strumming, so good to see you. Sooners for Christ, Oklahoma. Lisa Bell, hi, so good to see you, Lisa. I'm really glad to have all of you here. It's wonderful. Okay, they're deleting videos rapidly as we know the one with the ice hockey guy getting arrested. I saw that, what, just an hour ago. I can't imagine that they would just, I just felt like, what would you do in that situation? What would you do if you just had some cops pull guns on you when you're just playing hockey? That's crazy. This is where this fear is getting us. Okay? It's the craziness is backed up by the fear that's actually been instilled in people. Okay, so we're going to go on. Okay, now right now we've got a lot of worries about food. And it's only getting worse. The shelves do look a little sparse here and there. Some people are good. People still have toilet paper on the shelves, even though there was a little bit of a panic, but it's a long-term worry about food. Okay. And it's worldwide. We know that at some point the shipments aren't going to be able to go out from all these countries. And that also means that no shipments at some point will come in if there isn't some kind of relief other than this vaccine. Something's got to give. Okay. So we've got a lot of pressure on us. And they say, well, this vaccine can help us get back to normal, but still don't come back out. And now they're talking about a new virus or a new, I think it's what they say is a virus, something else is coming out that's just barely starting to get out. They didn't even say what the name of it was. That it's coming. Of course it is. Were we really going to think there was just going to be one? It's going to be sets of woes anyway that come for the planet in the end times. It's not just one woe, it's woe after woe after woe. Yeah, talking about how many times it has mutated. Whoo. You got to wonder, what is it, the radiation that's coming in? Is that part of it? Or is it because it was partially created? Or is it mutating to try to counter effect the antibodies? Wonder what exactly is causing it to mutate that fast. That's interesting, isn't it? I've got to remember not to put my fingers in front of my face. Sometimes people can't hear, they lip read, right? Got to keep things out from in front of your face, just in case. You never know. You never know. We got 4 likes so far. That's awesome. Hi, Road Christian. Glad you were able to make it. Okay. Yeah, I went to the General Dollar the other day. I'm epileptic and I have heart issues, right? And if I know I'm only going to be in there for just a minute, I try to put on the mask, even though I really shouldn't, because I need my oxygen. Epileptics and oxygen. I'm like, okay, I'll just be in there for a minute. Sometimes if I have to pull it away for a second just to get air, I will. But, mine broke. One of mine broke as I was fixing to go in the store. I'm like, I really have medical issues anyway. I'm going to go get what I want. I had somebody shaking their head at me like, oh, she's not wearing a mask. I'm like, I shouldn't have to in the first place with what I have. What do I have to do? Start wearing a sign on my shirt that says I've got serious medical issues, Maybe that's what it's going to take, I don't know. But you can see that there's a lot of hostility, a lot of fear. A lot of people don't really understand that this is about way more than just a pandemic. This is literally getting down to the bare bones. North Idaho has a ton of people going to and fro, with few wearing to and fro, okay, with few wearing masks, but yet they blame a small wedding in Central Washington for being a super spreader event. Good point. Here in my area so far, still plenty of groceries. I hope I didn't jinx it. All right. God bless you also. God bless all of you. All right, on a mission. Hi, on a mission. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, live chat's doing good. Let's go on to the next one. Okay. Oh, this one is interesting because a few months ago, I was talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the first 7 seals, really, and I was like, it looks like, and right before the pandemic started, I said, the 3rd seal's opening, look for mystery illnesses, something bad, here it comes. And, the 4th one, death, that's been coming, it's been riding, and the next one pointed out recently was that we should see a rise in Christian persecution, because that's what the 5th seal is about. And while we have been seeing that over time, worldwide, and more so now in the United States than ever, I think it would be interesting to note that something's going on in Africa that's pretty scary and definitely right in line with prophecy. And when I Googled the news, the first article that came up was 2,200 Nigerian Christians hacked to death in 2020. That's just there. Okay, right there. In this year, 2,200 Nigerian Christians gone. And then they say 34,400 have perished since 2009, right? Then you go down a couple of more articles, and it says that 11,500 Christians have been murdered in Nigeria since June of 2015. So what they're doing is, Nigeria, I think it's Nigeria, or maybe just the north part of Africa is mostly Muslim, and the south part is more Christian, but what they're basically doing is they're having a Christian genocide in that area of the world. And I have seen in prophecy, end times prophecy, when they're talking about the statue with the head of gold and the silver chest and the legs that are made of iron and clay. It was something like that. That just, I had to look through the old countries, but Egypt was part of that statue, and it's an end time prophecy. So Africa was meant from the beginning to be part of what's coming, and so it doesn't surprise me that we're seeing this per se. It's from what we've been taught since the beginning, and what's in prophecy. A transient beheaded another transient here recently. Yeah, there have been some beheadings here in America, right? Scary. Is there screen? I I don't think it has the best camera, but I think you can see me. Maybe yeah, I just don't have the best camera. But I guess it kind of does look a little bit blurry, huh? Yeah, it's not crystal clear perfectly, but y'all can see me all right, right? Okay. Every city has murders every day. The media is less likely to tell you about them anymore. Yeah, yeah, that's true. We still hear about them though, especially if they're particularly gruesome. Yeah, I just sometimes wear a mask, just most of the time, just so I don't have to get those cross-eyed looks from people, even though it makes me, want to go in and out of consciousness. Okay. So according to prophecy, from what we can see, because a lot of people are more prone to see the bad more so than the good, but there is good, and I'm going to be pointing that out to you pretty soon. But what we do know that should continue to unfold in the near future as well as now. Okay, obviously at some point the temple's going to get built. That's an obvious one, but that's a little bit down the road, I think, still just a little bit. But we're going to have more plagues coming. We're going to have an invasion on U.S. soil, and Paul and Adrian believe that's coming on too. And I don't think it's just them that believes that because of the troops that are starting to fall into places that they're going to be when all this starts. The famine, it started, it's growing. The persecution, we just went over that. We're going to have more disasters, more and more. And you think about Mount St. Helens, and you think about that super volcano that's sitting around the New England area. You think about that. It's bound to happen. The meteors and the comets and the asteroids. Somehow, some way, we're going to have these oncoming disasters, one by one, woe after woe. Okay. And that is for the evil that's been on earth. But see, there's still a remnant here that is God's. So even though we're seeing that economic collapse, all and everything else, all is not for nothing. There will be survivors after every single woe. So far, even with the pandemic, it's been a pretty high survival rate comparatively to those who have perished. There were and are survivors. So no matter what comes next, there are people on this planet to the very end. And we keep going as a human civilization. Things will be different than they are today, but humanity will still be here. Okay. What was that one Bible verse? 10,000 may fall to your right and 10,000 to your left, but something like harm won't come nigh thee. Paraphrasing a little bit. Yeah, God's going to protect his own. But, you got to remember that everybody has a beginning and an end date for the time that you're supposed to be here. So to focus too much on how or when you go is kind of not the way to go. I mean, it's just we go when we go. We just keep going until we do. That's pretty much what we've always done. Right? So it's not, but what if you go on? What if you keep going? That could happen. Okay. But I think that it's important that we start coming out of a victim mentality and start thinking more from a victor mentality. Because when this is all said and done, we win. We win. We overcome. All right. Now, there's been a lot of speculation about, would Jesus beat his bride? Would Jesus put his bride through this? And I think that's the wrong question to ask, really. I mean, take a look at Revelation 12, for instance. That woman has always been known to be a holy woman, someone that is special to God. No matter how you want to interpret what this woman is, she was always known as the good girl, the good woman, good side, right? But if you read through her chapter, she is in no way having an easy time, is she? So I think the question is, if God was willing to send his only son to die for us, then what is it we wouldn't go through for him? I think that's the right question. Because it's pretty clear that, as the war begins, that there are still saints here, because it says that the Antichrist is given a time to overcome the saints. So there are saints here. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and skip to the very end. It's the Battle of Armageddon. And a lot of people, they still don't quite understand what the Battle of Armageddon is. It is not the name of the entire war. The war is called the Tribulation in World War III. The very last battle of the entire war is called the Battle of Armageddon. It's the battle that ends them all. It's the one. And it happens in the mountains of Megiddo in Israel. So when people say Armageddon's about to start, I'm like, no. You obviously don't know what that really means. So we have to start there. The Battle of Armageddon is actually a great day. It's one of the best days ever. Before I get into that, a whole lot, Let me go ahead and check the chat. Okay. Looks like you're having some good talks among yourself. That's awesome. Just love to check and see where y'all are at. Okay, now here's a question I want to ask y'all. And if y'all can type, just put your answer in. At the last battle, how many armies on earth are gathered against each other that day? Does anybody remember? Because we know that the Antichrist is there, right? We know that Jesus is coming in the clouds, but on earth, there are two armies gathered together on the ground, because if there weren't, then what would one army be there for anyway? It's two armies gathered for battle. Now, the one that is for God is significantly smaller, as we've always known, and the army of the Antichrist is much, much larger than the smaller one, but it's for God. So that right there tells you that there's a fight that's been going on. There's been a resistance. There's been survivors. There's hope, right? Do you know what that army has always been called? The army of light. That's what that army will be called. The army of light. That's the smaller army. They're made up of old men and women and children, and not you wouldn't think, soldiers of the armies that we have today. But it's going to be whatever they can carry. They're coming. All right. Now, when it comes to the army of light, I've been trying to say that it's not just made up of the soldiers and the generals. Hold on just a second. Okay, had to deal with that. It's made up of the martyrs that go along the way. It's made up of the witnesses, like the two witnesses. It's made up of people that have great gifts. Now, these people, you don't know their names yet. They're kind of ordinary looking right now. You wouldn't really too much guess that someday these people that are alive right now are going to do really amazing things, including be at that last battle. And that's the hope. And you got to remember, we win. We win. So nothing that we do is for nothing, not ever. And a lot of these woes that come onto the earth, they strike down the evil, like the sores on those that took the mark. So I want y'all to have faith. I don't want you to just think that all is lost. No, if this is one of the most important times in history that there will ever be, the spiritual battle between God and Satan, God's angels, Satan's angels, the demons, and whatever, the messengers on earth, then everybody is here. Everybody is here already. And they have destinies. Everybody has a purpose. There's no way that a time this important that God wouldn't have already chosen and sent certain people to be here. And you've got to think, if there are two armies, and there are at the Battle of Armageddon, somebody was chosen to lead that army. Whoever is his captains, his deputies, his corporals, they're here too, right? Everybody's here. And so you've got to remember that we're being watched very, very closely. We've been talked about for all the generations before us, and we will be talked about for the generations after us. This is huge. All right. So don't worry about what tomorrow brings. Everything has already happened. All of this right here, the way that we knew life, it's already gone in the future. Everything is already changed for the better eventually. So I want y'all to have faith and know that you can be a part of something bigger. We're not just going to be sitting ducks out there. There's an army. Follow the army of light, and you'll start noticing who they are. When you start realizing, and again, it's not going to be those normal people you see on TV. It's going to be ordinary people, people you might not even think, like a homeless person or something. You would never think that person may be a messenger. You know what I'm saying? And these people know they know they're chosen. All right. That's the truth. People chose and sent people to be born in this time, to be a part of that army, to do their job. And so are you. And all you've got to do is just remember who is in control. Mogadishu means Megiddo. I did not know that. I'm going to have to look that up. Yep, it's the day the saints and Jesus come in the clouds at the same time. The saints. So when the saints come marching in, something like that, right? Now I'm in the Lord's army. Y'all know that song. I'm in the Lord's army. Yes, sir. I remember being in church singing that song. Yes, sir. I'm in the Lord's army. I will place a sword in your hands. Ooh. See, God is talking to his children. He's preparing us. It's okay. You know, it really is. No matter what, everything is going to be just fine. All of this is temporary. We just got to have courage. Jeremiah 50:35. A sword against the Babylonians, declares the Lord, against those who live in Babylon and against her officials and wise men. Yep. He always sends a sword, and he always sends his messengers, and it's always seems to be times like these. It's just the world that we live in is so stubborn and stiff-necked that it's going to take a lot to get some people's attention. And right now it looks like our focus is going towards science more than faith in God. And thank God that enough people's eyes are being opened to the undercurrent, the reality of what is happening all around us. So, they're expecting us to have eaten that lead paint. They're expecting us to have blown our brains out with drugs and whatever else they shove down our throats. They're hoping that they've programmed us enough with the TV and the video games that we won't notice. We'll be like, okay, whatever. No. Necessity is the mother of all invention. It's times like these when the leaders step up. All right. So pay attention when you start seeing certain people here and there that you never heard of. And they say things, you just start paying attention. Look at people more. You got some really special souls hiding in these human bodies now. I'm not talking about demons or something. I'm talking about special souls that he sent for this time. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get off here in just a minute. The wedding isn't here. Yeah, the wedding, isn't that supposed to happen during the tribulation? It's like the wedding feast and the wedding celebration during the tribulation. Yeah. I just see that during the time of the war, there are saints here, and I just don't think that it's because you weren't good enough and you were left behind. I think that humanity is missing the point that some people were sent to be here. Some people are supposed to be here. And so when you think of people exiting this world and the ones that are left behind, there must have been something wrong with them. I think you need to rethink that, especially when you think in terms of the Battle of Armageddon. Okay. And the two witnesses, things like that. I am talk about stubborn Pharaoh chase the Israelites in the sea. Think all those plagues would have, yeah, yep. Doesn't it say in Revelation that, even when all these plagues happen in the tribulation, to those that took the mark, they'll still just be cussing God and screaming and causing problems. They're just like that. They can't stop themselves. It's okay to be angry. Everybody gets angry sometimes. It's just don't sin. Don't let that anger grab a hold of you. All right? You've got to remember that yes, anybody can become angry. But you also got to be quick to forgive, slow to speak. You've got to think, respond, don't react. You've got to control yourself. Don't sin in your anger. 2,000 years has passed, and as God's chosen people, chosen the only way, ask yourself. God knows his children. It says there's a remnant, and his children know his voice. There are people still here. There are a lot of people still here that love God. I'm still watching you, but not on my phone, but on my TV, FYI. Congratulations. How did you do that? Like, did you cast it to your TV? Or do you have like a smart, I bet it's a smart TV, huh? Right. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm on TV. Hey. That's so funny. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and get off the horn for a little while. And we'll just keep watching the news. We'll keep watching the skies, and we will talk soon. Bye, everybody.